help. Any money's coming in and not going out helps a budget. One of the things that bothers me, I'm a senior citizen, and the Medicare, they want to give you a voucher. Well, if, for instance, they give you a $500 a month voucher for your health care now, you're going to pay double that. When you go to the doctor, he's going to take that $500 voucher, and he's going to have his billing company to send you a bill for $500. So you're going to be paying more out of your pocket under this voucher system. I don't get the Medicare B, C, and D, but I went into the military and I use the VA because my little small pension and Social Security, and with all of my other budget bills and everything, I would just stay home and wouldn't go to the doctor because I couldn't pay him.
By the way, Henry, that the VA plan is another plan that they're looking for privatization on, and it's going to hurt people, and I think that, you know, my thought, and when I guess the point that we're trying to put on today's program is, how do these decisions made at Congress level affect me down here in Southeast Texas? You know, how is that going to affect me? Because I think that's where it gets lost in translation sometimes. They don't.
It does. It definitely does.
And so whenever you look at what they're doing and how that's going to affect us, you know, you've got to see who's doing it and decide if you want to keep those people there.
Our veterans, they keep cutting the budget. I was just listening to a newscast the other day on the post-traumatic syndrome. They have veterans right now that need this medical counseling and so forth to help them get over this. We sent those boys out there into a war that shouldn't have never taken place in the beginning. And now they come back, and we're treating them like they're being treated. When President Bush was president, every year he cut the VA budget. I watched him cut it.
I did too, sir. I did too.
And every time you turn around, he was heading to a military camp to show off how great he loved the boys.
Right.
So
mission accomplished.
People are just going to have to stop and forget about this propagandizing talk from these, I call them microphone jockeys. That
as we all sit here on the microphone.
Yes. That's probably. Think for yourselves, citizens. Who will and has done the most for you? Are you getting some benefits from this affordable health care plan? Then you should vote to keep it going. Put people in there that will keep you getting your plan.
So see, Henry, I think people are getting benefit from the affordable health care plan and not realizing that's the health care. That's the Obamacare that people are demonizing. You know, you got something to say.
Well, it's Obamacares.
Yes.
Obamacares.
Well, you know, I mean, I just have to say this, that the reason I supported President Obama was because, and I think a lot of Hillary Clinton too, but I supported President Obama because I believed him. He wants to change everything that we've sat here and talked about. The tax loophole. His platform on education was what was enticing to me, because we've got to do something about that. And but these changes are difficult, and they're difficult for a dysfunctional society that says I want change, and then when we get close to it, it's like, oh no, we can't change. You know, we've got to stay in this little box that we're in. We can't change. And to think that we can continue to run our country that grows by leaps and bounds all the time without any more infusion of money into our tax base.
Well, the president,
that's just incredible to me that people don't understand that.
Yes, ma'am. The president, he thought that he could go in, get bipartisan support.
He did.
To help the people. He never
tried.
realized
He tried.
that the entire party leadership had already decided that they wouldn't let any plan, no matter how good it was.
Not going to work with this guy.
We're going to do nothing. We're going to say no.
Right.
We're going to kill it, and then we're going to blame him.
It's like the world did not begin until January the 1st, 2009. I mean, the world was not created until that day.
Right, regardless of which issue you're discussing.
Yeah.
Do you know that they have on Facebook a picture of the president with a big fail button on him?
Yeah.
And it says underneath it that no matter what he accomplishes, whatever he accomplishes, no matter how it's measured, he will have failed, no matter what he's done. And I actually argued this point with a Republican who said that he was actually the worst president as far as economics. And then when I gave her all of the evidence, I mean, I gave her charts, graphs, every little economic detail showing which presidents.
You confused her with facts.
Yes, I did confuse her with facts, and she's like, we're going to have to agree to disagree, because, you know, I'm going to be voting Republican. And I'm like, how did you graduate?
I would have been like, okay, so now tell me the real reason why.
Yeah. It's like this person just graduated from A&M, and she's got a new job at the Department of Agriculture. I'm like, yay, so you went to work for the federal government, which as a Republican you hate. You know?
I hate this government so
I hate this
badly.
government so much, I'm going to go work for them.
Oh. Listen, I'm losing patience with a lot of things I've noticed these days about myself. You know, at the point where she said she wanted to agree to disagree, honestly, I would have looked her straight in the eyes and said, you tell me the real
reason that you want, yeah.
Well, that's you know, everywhere I go and everybody I talk to, I hold my peace when I'm talking with my Caucasian friends. I'll let them say it.
Well, and it's hard when it's family.
But it's
Well,
it's there, and 90% of the people know that it's there. President Obama slipped by them. They never dreamed that this would ever happen. And when it happened, they were gotten off with, and they want revenge.
Yes, sir. I agree.
At the expense of the American public. They could care less about you getting any kind of health care or anything for your children or anything. The simple idea, just like Mr. McConnell said, my main objective is to make him a one-term president. And what the general public needs to
doesn't care
do,
who he hurts doing.
right, we need to make him out alive
Yeah,
and give him another term.
Okay, well, now I want you to consider how this may have come about, because I think that, you know, and I'm not going to, you know, demonize the guys that are doing it, because I think I understand where they're coming from.
Well, if you look at the polls right now, you notice, no doubt, who it is that is in Romney's camp. White men over 50.
Yeah, but look, Carol, if you look at their process and what they're saying and what they're doing, is they're actually running the country like a business, and I think we will all agree that it is a business. I mean, they're
To a certain extent.
to a certain extent, and the product is to provide for the sovereignty of this country. You know, whether it's in national security, financial stability, health care, which we seem to not have a full grasp on, but they're running it like a business. And whenever you put it in that context, and when you look at Mitt Romney and the way he thinks about it, is, you know, he's run businesses and he knows how to increase that bottom line in order to balance the budget. Well, the problem is the product coming out of a business, whether you're making widgets or plastic or paper bags or whatever, there's an acceptable level of loss, product lost, you know, because it's a company. They weigh improvements of the company, they run what's called a cost-benefit analysis. What does it cost and what's the benefit, and find that balance of acceptable loss based on the cost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And whenever you run a country that way, or you run a state that way, and you don't recognize that your product is the health and the welfare of the people,
Mm-hmm.
then what is your acceptable loss? You're actually saying, in the way you set that, when the bean counters are actually running it, they're not looking you and me in the eye. We're just a number.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can sacrifice the acceptable loss, but it's going to be people. And whether it's in education, if you look at the educational system, and we'll talk more about that, but when you take any of these systems that the budget gets cut, they call it tightening the belt, and then what's the acceptable loss? Well, the acceptable loss is we're not, I mean, when we talk about the greatest country in the world, and I believe we have the greatest system in the world.
Well, you know what, Mark? I appreciate the fact that you're being as polite as you are. Maybe it's a little bit early in the show for me to get into my radical self.
But do you understand what I'm saying, though?
Yes.
Is when you've got business people running the country on a business model, which is what they want to do, then,
Heavy on the capitalism, light on the democracy.
then the acceptable loss is going to be people are going to suffer.
Well, speaking of business, today I looked at the earnings for General Motors, which was up more than it has been in many years. They turned a profit. Mr. Romney and the Republican Party, they were opposed to the bailout for General Motors. Now, as we all know, General Motors...
That was an acceptable loss, by the way.
Yes. The auto workers of this country have been the foundation of the middle class in this country. The wages, they got that through the unions. I have a union pension coming in now. I'm a union man, for sure. I wouldn't be living as good as I'm living now if I didn't have my union pension, because I worked as a janitor in California. They would have paid me those Mexican wages that the illegal aliens were working for if I didn't have my union. But since I had my union, I was making $22 an hour as a janitor. And every general manager that would come to the racetrack, and the first thing they look at, oh, janitors making this much? We could outsource this to one of the groups that had illegal aliens and get rid of it. But it was in the state constitution that all departments at the racetrack had to be unionized. So they were forced to keep us, but otherwise they wouldn't have kept us. And it went from $22 to $24. The racing industry was doing good.
So
I would guess that your opinion would be that yourself and other people that do the same job as you did for $22 an hour were earning that $22 an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Anytime you're cleaning up behind another human being, anything you get, you've earned it. And I know parents can, and mothers especially, can relate to that, because
Yes,
you do some pretty nasty like jobs that you just grin and bear it.
We get what you're saying. I was at the local school yesterday working, and the gentleman who's the janitor there had to come and do something like what you're...
All right, we're going to we're going to pick this up, but what we're really talking about, and what Henry's talking about, is they were considering the acceptable loss. You know, it's okay to put this guy out of work who's making $22 an hour to hire